on us. We're not out of the snowy woods just yet, huh?
No, we are not. We've been, of course, seeing snowfall across our area ever since about 10 a.m. yesterday to the south and west as it moved in. And we're seeing right now some of the worst conditions with the heavy snow corresponding at the same time with some of the strongest winds we've gotten out of the storm. Let me show you what I'm talking about as we take a look. Storm Team 4 radar, you can see there's the circulation. Our winds mainly out of the north up to the north and east. They're just that, out of the north and east. But look at this. You can see some of the brighter banding of white into Howard County, down through areas of Montgomery County, around Fairfax County, Loudoun County, right there just into inside the Beltway and just to the west. And I've put on the reflectivity here so that you can see those darker colors around Fairfax, just around I-66. That's a tenth of an inch per hour in liquid. That correlates to 1 inch per hour snowfall rates, if not higher, that we're seeing right now. So the visibilities are really low, around 70, around 270. There's Gaithersburg and down toward areas of Reston and along areas of 66 in Fairfax. So the blizzard warning continues here for your afternoon and evening. Frederick, Leesburg, they're around Waldorf and into D.C. Some of the highest winds that we've seen across the area with those low visibilities under a mile right now. Some of our strongest winds over 40 miles per hour just to the east. So let's talk about, again, what to expect. It's going to stay windy and that snow is not going to end until around midnight. Additional snowfall on top of what we've already seen. 2 feet, getting close to 3 feet, believe it or not, in a few locations. Another 3 to 5 inches. Hagerstown, D.C., Fredericksburg, Leonardtown. We'll be back in a few minutes with the impacts of what we can expect over the next few days.
All right, meteorologist Veronica Johnson. Veronica, thank you. Right now, Washington, D.C. leaders are getting ready to update us on the district's snow situation as of this hour.
That's right. Mayor Muriel Bowser will join us at the podium in just a few minutes to get an update on the situation here in the city.
I rode in. My normal commute's about 8 minutes. It took me 45 in a Tahoe. And I got to tell you, it wasn't so much cars. There were very few cars on the road. We were behind a lot of the storm sweepers out.
Hi there, Jim and Erica. But first, I want to play off what you just mentioned. Folks walking in the middle of the street. That's what they're doing here in Clarendon because really the sidewalks have a couple of feet, if not more, of snow from being pushed over from the street. So if you look up here, take a look at the wind that's just gusting right in the middle of Clarendon Boulevard. It is a mess out here. We're going to show you some of those places that are open, and they're staying open as you take a listen to some of those folks.
To the blizzard of 2016 and our snow operations. Since 1 p.m. yesterday, we've seen about 20 inches of snow fall in our city, and the storm is not done yet. In fact, in the last 2 hours, we have seen snow pick up as well as winds pick up. We know that it is very rough outside, and in some cases, there have been reports of whiteout conditions for the past 2 hours. Visibility is extremely poor. For the next few hours, we continue to be told that the snow will be heavy, with the highest wind gusts of the entire storm. And it continues to be a dangerous storm. The forecast suggests that the snow will wrap up late tonight or in the very early hours of this morning. But it doesn't make it any less dangerous. We expect continued high winds throughout the area, which will continue to make the conditions and visibility very poor. We want drivers to stay off the road. We also want pedestrians to stay off the road. Today, many of us encountered people walking down the middle of streets. Our plows encountered them as well as our emergency vehicles. We can't emphasize enough that people need to stay off the streets for their own safety and for that of our snow crews and first responders. We've had a lot of snowfall over the last 36 hours. And tonight, as that snow ends, we will shift into another phase of our operation, which Mr. Geltard, Director Geltard, will tell you about. Many people have been shoveling all day today, and we remind everybody to shovel as you are able, to be careful and follow all of the healthy shoveling tips. We are also being inundated by calls from D.C. residents who need help shoveling. We have put together a volunteer database, but I will say that the request for shoveling exceeds the volunteers. So if you are able to help a neighbor, please do so. If you need us to provide you with a couple of addresses, we'd like you to go to snow.dc.gov to do exactly that. As people get out and about, the need to shovel walks becomes even more important. So let me turn to Director Geldhart, who will provide an additional operational briefing.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I am Chris Geldhart, the Director of DC's Homeland Security and Emergency Management Agency, and we'll cover now a little bit of where we are in our phases of operation. As everybody knows, we started Wednesday about noontime with our preparatory phases and our pre-treatment phases. We carried that all the way through to our emergency phase where we are now, when we had the snow start to pick up and outpaced our ability to keep up with salt and chemical. We are going to continue that phase through this evening until the snow gets to a point where we can keep up and get ahead of it, and the snow ceases. And that's when we'll move into the next phase of operations, which will be our post-storm response. That post-storm response, as we have said to many people, we're going to need to do a good assessment on that. Right now, with the wind blowing the way it is and the amount of snow that's coming down, that's a hard assessment for us to do, to say how long, what is it going to take for us to clear everything on the roads. As it is right now, in the different sections of the city, we have different snow total amounts, and it's, as you can imagine, very difficult to determine with the way that the wind is blowing exactly how much snow we have in certain areas. So we're going to be doing a real hard assessment once the storm ends. We're going to continue to plow through that assessment, but we're going to do a good hard assessment at that point and make some determinations of what it's going to take and how long it's going to take for us to get through and clean the storm up. We'll also be starting our recovery phase at that point. As soon as we get through that assessment, and we're going to continue to plow, we will start to do some of the picking up of the snow and hauling of the snow as we do that. So you'll see the last two phases go in tandem, and then the recovery phase, of course, will go beyond our plowing phase. So that's what we've got coming up. I do want to reiterate what Mayor Bowser said earlier. It did look like it was clearing up earlier today, and we did say that we still are in our emergent phase. We ended up having periods of time where we were back up to 2 inches of snow falling per hour, just over the last 2 to 2.5 hours. With the wind blowing like it is, we can't encourage residents enough, please. We're still in that emergent phase. We're still in the middle of the storm. We really need folks to stay off the streets. Able to respond to those calls for service almost right at the same levels when we don't have snow. So we've been very successful in doing that. However, we want to make sure the residents understand that we still are in this phase. To that end, I think Chief Dean would like to talk a little bit about how we want to watch for how we're doing with our...
So we would appreciate that. Thank you.
As you're shoveling out and as you're doing that cleaning up around the front of your homes, to give us a hand and clean up around the fire hydrants that are out there as well. So if you are out there and you are shoveling, and when you start to shovel, if you can clean those up, that would be very helpful as well. That's all that I have. I'll take some questions.
Sure. Sam, we're going to be making those assessments tomorrow in coordination with the jurisdictions. We're obviously operating around the clock. There are Metro crews, a small army of Metro crews out and about today, clearing snow from 100 miles of above ground track, all of our yards. As you know, we've stored about 350 rail cars in tunnels to protect them. Come tomorrow, by tomorrow afternoon, we should be in a position to know what level of service we'll be able to provide. Our goal is to get service restored as quickly and safely as possible.